She had a private jet, a mansion on a hill, and more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. And she wanted my husband. Not because she needed him, because she loved him. And here's the part that still keeps me up at night. I didn't fight her. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I did something far worse. Something that changed all three of us forever. If you've ever loved someone so deeply it scared you, you need to stay with this story. Like this video, subscribe, and let's get into it. Because this one is going to stay with you. My name isn't important. What's important is that I was happy. Not the kind of happy you perform for other people. The quiet kind. The kind that lives in the spaces between things. In the smell of coffee before sunrise. In the sound of my husband's boots on the porch steps at the end of a long day. His name was Daniel, and he was the most genuinely good man I had ever known in my entire life. We didn't have much. Daniel worked construction. I worked at the front desk of a small physical therapy clinic 3 days a week. We had a house that needed painting, a truck with 200,000 miles on it, and a savings account that made us both nervous to look at. But we had something most people spend their whole lives searching for. We had peace. Real, honest, ordinary peace. And I used to think peace was permanent. I used to think if you protect something hard enough, nothing can touch it. I was wrong. The trouble didn't announce itself. It never does. It arrived on a Tuesday in the form of a black Range Rover pulling up to the old Caldwell estate outside of town. Her name was Victoria Ashworth, 34 years old, heir to a real estate empire that stretched across 7 states. She had bought the old Caldwell property, all 42 acres of it, and she wanted it renovated. Not updated, not repaired, transformed. And Daniel's crew was the one she hired. The first night he came home from that job, I noticed something. He was quieter than normal. Not the tired quiet, not the satisfied quiet, the thinking quiet. I asked him how the job went. He said, "Fine, big place." I asked about the owner. He paused, just half a second too long, then said, "She seems particular." I laughed. I had no idea that half-second pause was the beginning of the end of everything. I wouldn't find out until later what had happened on that job site. But when I did, I understood why he couldn't find the words. Victoria Ashworth did not flirt. She didn't bat her eyes. She didn't lean in close. She did something far more dangerous. She watched. She watched Daniel the way a person watches something rare, something they didn't expect to find. She watched him treat his crew, the way he never raised his voice, the way he stopped work to help a younger guy who was struggling with a load. She watched him eat his sandwich on the tailgate of his truck, alone, reading a dog-eared paperback novel. And apparently, according to a guy on his crew who told his wife, who told her sister, who eventually told me, Victoria Ashworth said to her assistant, quietly, "Find out everything you can about him."
The first one was a book. The same novel he'd been reading, except this one was a first edition, signed by the author. Daniel brought it home, held it like it was made of glass, and said she must have just left it for the whole crew as a thank you. But it was addressed to him specifically, by name. The second week, it was a tool set, hand-forged, the kind that costs more than our truck. "She's just being generous," he said. The third week, it was an envelope. Inside, a job offer. Not for contract work, not for more renovation jobs. A position. Director of Property Development for Ashworth Holdings. 6 figures, a company truck, full benefits, a future that looked nothing like ours. I looked at that envelope for a long time, and I felt something I had never felt in our marriage before. Not jealousy, not anger, fear. The specific kind of fear that comes when you realize your ordinary life is standing directly in the path of something extraordinary. And extraordinary always wins, doesn't it? Daniel said he didn't want to take the job. He said all the right things, but here's what I noticed. He didn't throw the envelope away. I want to be careful here because I know how this sounds, and I don't want to paint my husband as a villain. He was never that. He was something harder to be angry at. He was dazzled. Victoria Ashworth was brilliant. She talked to him about architecture and legacy and what it means to build something that lasts. She asked his opinion, genuinely asked, and then actually listened. She treated him like someone whose mind mattered. And I sat at home wondering, had I stopped doing that? Had I gotten so comfortable in our peace that I forgot to make him feel seen? That question cut me deeper than anything she could have done. I tried to talk to him 3 times. Each time he reassured me, said it was just a job, said I was imagining things. The 4th time I tried to bring it up, he walked out of the room. And I sat at that kitchen table alone in the quiet that used to feel like peace and realized it had turned into something else entirely, something hollow. I didn't snoop. I want you to know that. I'm not that kind of person, or at least I wasn't. He left his phone on the counter when he went to shower. It lit up with a message. I wasn't going to look, but the preview was right there, and the name at the top was Victoria. And the first words I could see were, "I know this isn't fair of me, but I can't stop thinking." The rest was hidden behind the notification bar. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't move. I just stood there and felt the floor shift underneath me.
Everything after that happened in slow motion. I did something I'm not proud of. I went to the estate. I didn't confront anyone. I just drove out there and parked on the county road and looked at the place, all 42 acres of it. The stone walls going up, the gardens being laid out, Daniel's truck in the driveway, and in an upstairs window, a silhouette. A woman standing still, looking out. I don't know if it was her, but in that moment I understood something that changed everything for me. She wasn't trying to steal my husband the way a thief takes something. She genuinely, honestly loved him, or believed she did. And that was so much more terrifying, because you can fight a thief. How do you fight someone who loves what you love? I went home, and I made a decision that I still don't know whether to call brave or broken. She called me. I still don't know how she got my number. She was direct, I'll give her that. She said, and I remember every word, "I'd like to meet with you, just us. I owe you that." Not, "I'm sorry," not, "this is nothing." I owe you that. Like she already knew she had taken something that wasn't hers. I said yes. I don't know why. Maybe because I needed to see her as a person, because it's harder to be destroyed by a person than by an idea. She was not what I expected. She didn't wear her money like armor. She looked tired, like someone who had everything and had just realized it didn't add up to what she thought it would. She sat down across from me and she said, "I didn't plan this. I want you to know that." And then she told me the truth. All of it. She told me she'd been in her family's business since she was 19, that she'd spent 15 years building wealth and losing people, that every man she'd ever known had wanted the empire, not her. And then she met Daniel. who didn't know what her net worth was on the first day, who argued with her about the design of a window frame because he thought she was wrong and he was right, and he didn't back down. She said, "He treated me like a person, not a portfolio, and I hadn't felt that in so long I didn't know what to do with it." I sat there, and I listened, and something strange happened. I understood her. I hated that I understood her, but I did. Because here's the thing no one tells you about love. It doesn't care about timing. It doesn't care about who's in the way. It doesn't check to see if the man is already taken. It just lands, like a storm. And then she said the thing that split my whole world in two. She said, "I told him how I felt. Last week. I told him I was in love with him."
I didn't cry. I wanted to. Instead, I asked her, very calmly, what he said. She looked at her hands. He said he loves his wife. And then she looked up at me. But he didn't leave. He came back the next morning. That sentence, he loves his wife, but he came back. Do you know what lives in the space between those two facts? Everything. Doubt lives there, and want, and a man standing at a crossroads trying to figure out who he is. I thanked her for being honest. I walked out to my car. I sat in the parking lot for 40 minutes, and then I drove home, and I started to pack a bag. I want you to understand something. I wasn't leaving because I stopped loving him. I was leaving because I loved him. Here's what I knew, deep in the part of myself I trust most. A man who is standing at a crossroads isn't fully yours anymore. Not yet. And holding on tighter doesn't make him choose you. It just makes him feel trapped. And a man who feels trapped will always, eventually, walk toward the open door. So I decided I would open the door myself. I would give him the choice, clearly, cleanly, with my whole heart on the table, because he deserved a real choice, and so did I. The letter wasn't long. I didn't write paragraphs. I didn't list grievances. I wrote 3 things. 1, I know about Victoria. I know everything. 2, I'm not angry. I'm not broken, but I'm not waiting either. 3, if you want this marriage, really want it, you know where to find me. But you have to come all the way, not halfway, all the way, or don't come at all. I drove to my mother's house 4 hours away, and I didn't look at my phone until the next morning. There were 41 missed calls, but the one that mattered was the voicemail. And what he said in it, I have listened to it so many times the recording has become part of my memory. He said, I sat here for 2 hours reading your letter. I read it maybe 20 times, and I realized something that I am ashamed I had to be taught. I have been standing near something shiny for so long that I stopped seeing what was real. You are real. This life is real. And I almost threw it away, not because I don't love you, but because I forgot what love actually looks like when it's not exciting. It looks like you. It looks like ordinary Tuesday mornings, and a truck that won't start, and a kitchen table that's seen every hard conversation we've ever had. Please come home. I'm not going back to that job. I'm not going back to that property. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never have to leave again. I played that voicemail 3 times. And then I sat with it. Because here's what I had learned in those 24 hours alone. Love is not enough on its own. Love without intention is just a feeling. Feelings change. Intentions are choices you make every single morning. I needed to know
Was he choosing me? Or was he just choosing against her? Because those are not the same thing. And I had spent too long being someone's default to be someone's consolation prize. I went home. Not that night. Not even that week. 3 days later. Because I needed him to sit in it, to understand the weight of what nearly happened. And when I walked through that front door, he was at the kitchen table. The same table where I left the letter. He had cleaned the whole house, not because he thought it would fix things, but because he said he needed to do something with his hands while he waited. He looked at me, not with relief, not with guilt, with grief. The grief of a man who almost lost something and felt the full weight of it. That grief, right there, was the thing that told me he was worth saving. We went to counseling. We did the hard work. We talked about things we had never said out loud in 10 years of marriage. Things I had swallowed, things he had buried. And slowly, something new was built on top of the rubble of what almost ended us. Not the same as before, better than before, more honest, more intentional, more chosen. As for Victoria Ashworth, she finished the renovation. She sold the estate 18 months later. I heard she moved out west. I don't know if she found what she was looking for. I hope she did. I know that sounds strange, but I think a woman who has everything and still aches for something real deserves to find it. Just not with my husband. They say the scariest moment isn't when someone tries to take what's yours. It's the moment you let go and wait to see if it comes back. And the thing about letting go with open hands, you find out once and for all what was always truly yours and what was just being held by habit. I let go, and he came back. But I'll never forget the feeling of those 3 days, waiting to find out which one it would be. Some silences change you. That one changed me forever. If this story hit you somewhere deep, you're not alone. It hits a lot of people. Because at some point, most of us have stood at a crossroads and wondered, do I hold on or do I let go and trust? If you felt something watching this, drop a comment below. Tell me which part stayed with you. Like this video, subscribe for more stories like this one, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Until next time, choose intentionally. Choose completely, or don't choose at all.